I am growing a little impatient. Where are they? I know I should be better at waiting, but after such a long time, things are finally coming together, and I want to see the game come to an end. They'd better not be running away. That would be very boring. Still, let's try and give them a little more time. They do say good things come to those who wait. This is Red Moon Roleplaying. All three of you awaken with a bit of a start. Safe, warm at least, below the decks of the Barey. For a moment there is some confusion. Who are you? Where are you? What's going on? Obviously, these questions mostly get asked quite quickly, but all of you were utterly exhausted from last night. The amount of stuff that happened is overwhelming. Together, the three of you united a village. You stormed a castle. You killed several people. Some of you indirectly, some of you very much directly. And then the castle fell down. Quite literally fell down in some sort of bizarre natural occurrence or an explosion none of you can truly explain. And then it was over. Apparently. Yes, some people said some things as you sailed back to that little village of Wittgendorf, but maybe it all got lost. You were all so tired. And now, you awaken. You know that you are safe. Or at least you've been told you're safe. Are you ever really safe? Who knows? Several things occurred. But, for the moment, the aftermath of all of that will have to wait. Because for the moment it's just you three. Alone. Kruger Hoffman. For you, perhaps, it is a good morning. You won, didn't you? You've saved the day. You defeated people you know are evil. At least you think so. You recall that woman, Eltke Herzen, your nemesis, your foe, dead, gone, although now she seems dead and gone. Maybe you'll find yourself wondering, why was she your nemesis in the first place? What had she even done to you? You remember that time where you faced her last, full of questions, but you didn't want to ask them. Why should you? Get them later. There won't be a later, it seems. Who she was and what she was up to seems to be lost. But does that truly matter? You've saved Rena, you've saved Sigrid, you've saved a small village. What's going through your mind? What are you thinking as you awaken? You see your two companions awake, although you sense something amiss. You remember that they didn't seem quite as happy as you did. How are you feeling?
I suppose it's a feeling of relief, really. The last few days and weeks, they've been very stressful. And when we arrived in Wittgendorf, well, the town was in a really sorry state. But we really made a difference there. We freed the people. I mean, it wasn't just us, it was Sigrid and all the brave folks that she had with her. But we worked together and we changed things for the better. We freed them. We really did. Things are better now, and Wittgendorf will have an opportunity at a new start. And there's a feeling of pride in having been a part of that, of course. And having been able to get rid of Miss Herzen, that's just a bonus. She kept popping up in places where we didn't necessarily want her to be popping up, and she was definitely up to no good. Hopefully we've been able to remove one ne'er-do-well from this world. Although, yes, in terms of answers, we got very few of those. But then again, maybe that doesn't matter so much. What matters is that people are safe, at least for now. We are safe. And looking at my companions, I do know that they went through quite a lot. I don't know how much we've really talked about that. But I suppose I just find myself focused on how lucky I was that I got through this more or less unscathed. And now I just wonder what awaits us down the line. What all await me? What about all these other things that, are still unresolved? What about Castor Liberum? What about the Purple Hand? What about all that stuff? Is that stuff still going to happen? Is that still going to affect my life? Am I free of that too? I don't know.
And, of course, what of those things you saw? You find yourself already trying to forget them, but those strange creatures. And the stone. That's right, this was all about a stone or a falling star. Is that gone? Or is it in worse hands? You thought you were stopping it getting into the hands of that woman, but are these people any better?
Yeah, I have no idea who or what they are, what power they serve, and if they are just gonna take that artifact and use it for themselves, or if they're going to be, making other people suffer. I certainly hope they're not. I couldn't do anything to stop it, of course, at the time, and I try not to think about what I could have done differently, because I can't change it at this point. But yes, that does worry me. It does worry me what they're going to be up to, and I wonder if they will cross our paths again in the future. I certainly hope not. Those creatures, there's something really off about them. Something not right.
Heinrich Schilf, you awaken, tired, very sore, especially in the arms. One fact just floats to your head before all others. Your father is dead. Once that was a question, an anxiety that wormed its way in you for weeks and weeks. What's happened to my family? Are they okay? Now it's an answer. Your father is dead. Technically by your own hand, although you feel that's not quite true. Still, you are alive. It's strange, you also vaguely remember things taking a turn that you didn't expect. For some reason, the castle suddenly started falling down. Was this some fell trick of chaos? Some hidden trap? You don't know. You didn't really have time to question it. But you managed to get people out. Your mother's still alive. All the crew of the Beribel are still alive. You did save some people. But, you tell us, do you still feel like the holy chosen of Sigmar?
Well, never once before in the great but short history of Heinrich's life have I ever had anything even remotely resembling a crisis of faith. And it's curious now that it occurs the way it does. On the one hand, you're absolutely correct. We were in a church full of what I assume had Heinrich put more thought onto it, would have revealed themselves to be quite unsavory people. But in all the Reichland, there's no way that you walk down into an ancient tomb, leave with a holy sword, and do not find yourself imbued with zeal, right? And I don't know if there's an equivalent in the Reichland of Sigmar works in mysterious ways, but everything in Heinrich's life, he's framed as a test. Can I get out of this mud hut town? Can I survive this training? Can I get these two strangers on a road to the place where we'll all make the money? Can we escape the trap around the money? And all of that feels not contrived, but like a purposeful list of things that need fulfilled, that each is a step on a journey, and he can't see it, but there's only one power in the universe that he knows could set that into motion. So there's certainly less dazzle in it. Had you asked before the march in the castle, Heinrich would have much rather departed as a general at the head of an army, right? No finger quotes army. It's not much of an army when there's only 20 or so of you. But the two key points to take away are that he has saved people. He has saved citizens of the Empire, the members of the village. He has saved his extended family through not only his co-adventurers, but also the crew of the Mirabelle. And then also literally his family. He saved his mother's life, and I think the only way that I can make it through is to think that I've saved my father's soul. And that is sad and painful work, but it is important. And framing it any other way would invite a crisis of confidence that Heinrich's brain is not ready to handle.
Siegfrieda, you are alive. You are awake. Your body aches terribly. You, most of all, perhaps did some feats that you didn't think possible for you. You find yourself remembering that chase across that bridge, crossbow bolts firing at all directions. You remember making that leap through literal fire and flame over a balcony or a banister. You can't quite remember. There were so many horrors, so many foes, and yet somehow you are still standing. It almost feels like a dream, or perhaps a nightmare. And yet, a nightmare where several people you wanted dead are dead. You didn't like that horrible man under the armour. He's very dead, you think. That haughty wizard you so longed for her death, she's dead. And of course, the worst of them, the hypocrite, that woman who claimed it was all for good and science, dead as well. A liar, surely. The lie saying that it was all for good. No, how could that possibly be? It couldn't possibly be right. And yet, does this actually bring you any satisfaction, or does it simply leave you hollow? How are you feeling, Siegfrieda? How are you feeling to be alive?
Dirty and spent. My eyes are bleary when I wake up. It isn't helped by the fact that I still have ash on my skin and in my hair. I'm covered in scratches and bruises. My clothes are torn. The events of the prior day, they were dirty events. We all got our hands bloody. In all my years of performing medicine, autopsies, surgeries. Yes, I'm still young to the trade of being a physician, but that doesn't mean I've not had my hand in a chest cavity or two. And yet, I don't think I've ever felt more grime coating me than it is right now. Before today, there was only really one instance where I was desperate for an individual's death, and his death came, and I escaped. I made my own life, and within 24 hours I was encountering one person after another who, in my mind, was better off dead than alive. Completely antithetical to my philosophy, the philosophy of Cleo, my chosen goddess, a goddess of healing, of revival, of health, of forgiveness. I had lost all of that, and I think I still have lost all of that. And so I say to my companions, I'm just going up top. I will be back very shortly, and I will climb up the steps. I will ascend to the deck. And I have no feelings of politeness or decency right now because I am covered in the murk of yesterday. I strip down and I jump into the river. I know that this river is filled with dangers. When we arrived here days ago, there was an undead or infected thing in there. On one level, I'm thinking we're far enough away now that that's no longer a risk. On another, I'm beyond the point of caring, but more important than anything else right now, I just need to get myself clean physically. I need to wash yesterday off of me in the only way that I'm able right now, which is to swim for a while. The barge doesn't travel fast, and I can keep up with it for a time. All I need to do is clean myself. Kind of baptism were we in another world where I can step out of this river maybe slightly renewed.
Well, it's certainly a refreshing experience. Freezing cold, grey water. You quickly discover it's quite shallow as well, but luckily not so shallow that you hurt yourself. Although as you come up, you make sure to avoid the debris, the wood, the rubble that's currently floating along it, dead fish. And yes, no one disturbs you. You do see someone, you're not sure who, just looking over the boat with concern that you don't start drowning, of course, but no one stops you as you swim through those murky grey waters and you come up. Maybe actually far dirtier than when you went in, but, well, maybe you were looking for a different kind of cleansing, and are greeted also to the smell of ash and smoke, because there is some smoke coming from the village. Smoke that's petering out, of course, but interesting. Were there some fires during the night? But yes, you're able to do this, and if you wish, with a rope given to you, able to get back on the boat quickly if you so wish.
Yeah, I'm not going to strand myself. Once I'm done, I will call for a rope to be thrown down and climb up again. I think all of us on board, whether myself, Kruger and Heinrich, or indeed the general crew of this vessel, I at this point don't have reason to be shy about my decency or anything like that. They've been trapped in a dungeon or a pit and exposed to gods know what. I'm climbing back onto the deck. I'm not shy. I will find my robe. I will clad myself in it again, dry myself to a degree, and yes, you're right. I am probably dirtier than I was when I entered the water, and maybe there is some significance to that. But if nothing else, the cold of the water was bracing, and it enabled me to focus. And so I am now heading back below deck, slightly damper than I was when I left.
To be fair, the only person who pays you any attention is Walder, who was the one who gave you the rope. It does seem as if the gentleman of the boat wanted to give you some privacy. But other than that, you do see a little bit of activity. It seems there's another boat. Oh, of course there's another boat. Yes, there were 2 boats, and there seemed to be a bunch of people doing work on that one. But your one's been left alone for a bit. So it does seem as if it's still early morning, at least in that regard. And so, after taking her sudden departure, she eventually returns to you two, Kruger and Heinrich. Siegfried looking slightly wetter, but perhaps fresher, more awake. And, well, you tell me. It seems before anyone bothers you, all 3 of you will have a moment to yourselves. What do you do? What do you say?
This is ordinarily the part where Heinrich would break the tension with a joke, but that Heinrich is smeared over some mossy cobble rubble that used to be a castle. But that said, there is a recognition of the need to escape what was before, and if Siegfrieda appears happier, perhaps not the correct word, but having her load lightened by a ritual, if not literal cleansing, considering the river, then I will at least offer a polite, unspoken affirmation of that. There's a hint of care in the eyes that Heinrich is not the kind of person to articulate out loud, and just a bit of checking in.
I'll just nod and try to pretend like everything is normal and, just try to play cool.
Then it seems it's an awkward silence for a couple more minutes. What do you do then? Do you start just heading up, ready to meet the crowds or the people or all the voices that will want your attention? Or do you stay a few more minutes of awkward silence?
We should eat, I say, finally dry and clothing myself. I know we've been through a lot, but there's no point making our bodies suffer just because our minds are. Health is still important.
You're right about that. Yeah, let's get something to eat.
No, I think Heinrich has not even realized that he's hungry until Siegfried says it, and that his body punctuates the sentence with a very loud stomach rumbling.
We should also consider, I don't think there's anything that can be done for this patient. The village, I mean. It's not by us. I don't have any faith in the Empire to suddenly move in and make things better here, but the three of us, I think we can only lose ourselves more by remaining here. The sooner we get as far away from this place as possible, I think the better we will be.
I agree. I think we've done what we need to do here.
Absolutely. Leave it to somebody else to burn it to its roots and hope something better grows in its place.
If that's what's needed.
Well, what's the plan? We go upstairs, there are people we've rescued. Are we the big damn heroes?
It'd be nice to be that for a bit, don't you think?
For once.
Were you suggesting we wear smiles and raise our hands in celebration?
Well, if not for ourselves, then for them. They need that, right?
Nodding enthusiastically is a bit strong of a word, but agreeing wholeheartedly with Kruger. And I'll say, you saw the hope that lit up eyes in the grove, in the tunnels, the way the soldiers were looking at us. These people need that from us, whether or not we are well positioned to give it.
Gods, I wish I'd learned to play a musical instrument so I wouldn't have to speak. But I can go along with that. I can wear a smile, I can shake hands and be friendly.
At least for a little while. But I suppose, not for the first time, despite not desiring to do so, Heinrich will take the lead up a dangerous staircase to face an uncertain situation with his friends at his back.
And so, having eaten some food, you had a bit of bread and fruit, nearby at least, you walk up to the deck to meet the day. It's a cold, grey day, and now all three of you on deck, yes, you notice those smoke pillars, but it's old smoke. Fires that have already burnt out, although they're still new. There's two of them, in fact. One quite close by when you squint, and one of them seeming slightly further off, somewhere in the vicinity of the village. Still, there are people waiting for you. First of all, there is, of course, our dear crew of the Barey. Joseph is looking a little grim, a little tired, but he gives you a firm nod. Grim and Walter close by. And as you look ahead, you see a boat you're obviously quite familiar with, especially now it's the light of day. Your old boat, the Old Dove. There you see your mother, Genevieve. She seems to be very busy. There's a lot of people on her boat. A mixture of some of the people you met last night, and also some people you haven't seen, but they seem to be on the boat, helping load up boxes and crates, clearly getting the boat ready to sail off. It's happening on your boat as well. You also notice, just on the dock, a small group of people clearly waiting to speak to you, headed up by Sigrid, of course, and her sister Rena, as well as a few other faces that you vaguely recognize from the village. What was her name again? Ah yes, Hilda, the miller's daughter. She's looking quite expectantly in your direction, you notice. Heinrich. So, these people await you, the village awaits you. What do the three of you do? It seems everyone's quite keen to give you space until you decide to talk to them.
You can't be a hero without making a hero's entrance, right? And the mood isn't so joyous that it would need to be brash, but certainly a hand on the hilt of a magical sword and the triumphant tip of a hat will at least get things moving in the right direction.
Yes, and I follow after confidently and with a big smile on my face.
Well, it certainly is met with a few nods and smiles back, although people aren't that jubilant. If anything, they seem tired and dirty. You all get the feeling that while you rested, maybe some of the people didn't. It's been a long, long night.
I wonder if folks have been busy burning places down, too bent on destruction to get any rest.
Does that appear to be the case? Because the approach I would want to take is to thank them for what it looks like they have obviously done, despite circumstances, right? So if they'd been dealing with corpses, then I would say, thanks for doing the hard work of so on and so on. But do we have a sense of what they were actually up to?
Well, you begin squinting at that closer smoke pillar. Wasn't that the boathouse? Oh, you think you remember that on your very first day here. You think there were a lot of unwell people in that location. As you squint, it seems to no longer exist. There's now just a black, burnt-out ruin.
In that case, then, I will approach the crowd generally, but more directly towards Sigrid, knowing how she feels. And with the kind of stoicism that only comes from burying your emotions down in your chest ever since you were a young boy, say, I appreciate, and I know Sigmar appreciates, the sacrifices you've made and the work you've put towards making this world a better place. With a solemnity and respect.
Sigrid gives you a look. She nods, she yawns, she looks back. Several other people make a few comments, being largely that they appreciate what you're saying. She just says, thank you. Long night. Mostly sorted now. We're doing our best to put some people on the walls. No need to bury anyone. And she sort of just looks to one of the piles of smoke with a frown. Did you all rest well? You deserved it.
I'll reach out to place a hand on her shoulder, if it appears she consents, of course, and say, we all deserve it. And I appreciate that you gave us the space to recover, and so shall we give you the space to recover. But you've shown strength that ordinary people don't have. And then I'll give an affirming squeeze.
She shrugs, looks back at the village. I can't take all the credit. Some of the people here did some stuff all on their own. Not stuff I approve of, but, well, it's done now. And, well. And then an older gentleman speaks. You think you remember him? He was the one who was with you in the tunnels. He just says, now, had to be done. Even the doctor would confirm that, wouldn't you? He gives you a look, Siegfrieda.
Why, yes, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
Exactly. See? And she sighs and nods, saying, I suppose. It's just I would rather have... I feel there could have been a better way. Again, looking quite pointedly at that smouldering ruin, which, again, you two would also now recognize. Yes, that was that boathouse that had... You think there were a few people living in there. You then also notice there's an absence here. Those beggars, the ones you were encountered the first time, there are about 10 or 15 of them there, not here anymore. You also again notice that second plume of smoke, and perhaps you, Kruger, would recall that that's the part of the village you think you went to as well. Yeah, you think you were in that area. You can't remember what was there, though.
I point towards it and try to catch Rena's attention. What happened over there?
That was the first place they went for.
They?
Well, the people, so when they saw what the fuck happened at the castle, they all went a bit mad, as you do, I guess, and they decided to visit you-know-who.
Was it the doctor?
Yeah, he got away, though.
Huh. Smart. I'm guessing the villagers are purging anyone who is seen as infected.
Sigrid remarks, In a manner of speaking, they say they found things in the doctor's house that proved he was in lieu with... you know what? He'd already gone, though. He killed his manservant. I managed to convince him to spare his house servant woman. She was just an old lady, but I wouldn't be too concerned about him. You say smart, Siegfrieda. Leaving in the middle of the night with one horse through these forests. I don't think we'll see him again.
Well, smarter than remaining to be strung up and burned alive. And what about the people in this boathouse? What grave sin had they committed? Actually, no. How the village has resolved its problems is the purview of the villagers. We've done our part, haven't we, chaps?
You have. Honestly, we can't ask you for more. I'm sorry we haven't got anything to offer you. You have, even though it cost a lot, you have helped us. You've helped us, Heinrich, and Sigrid gives you a bit of a look. I don't think we'll see eye to eye on it, but I can't deny you helped us. Thank you.
It's never about the money. You have your life ahead of you, in whatever form that takes, no matter what's behind it. You have that.
Several of the crowd seem to start dispersing. It seems they have things to do, but Rena comes up to you, Heinrich, and smiles and attempts to then smile at you as well, Kruger and Siegfrieda. Well, yeah, like Sis said, thank you. I did not think that was going to go how it went. I don't know if I would have asked for your help if I did.
Is that in a good way or in a bad way?
Well, I mean, we're all here, aren't we? That's good. Yeah, I guess you guys are heading off now. I obviously am going to stay here. Sigrid needs some help, and I reckon we can, help some people here, maybe. It's a bit tight. Sigrid nods. Yes, but I suppose at least there's not quite so many mouths to feed, so the food shortage might be manageable. They'll send someone eventually, I'm sure. Give it a week or two. They didn't care about a plague, but, well, even the imperial bureaucrats take note when castles suddenly vanish.
Oh yes, and they're gonna come for the taxes, of course. So, yeah, clearly you have things to do, but now you have all the opportunities to actually rebuild this place. No one's going to be lording over you. You are in charge now.
Siegfried gives you a bit of a look and then laughs. Yes, no one's going to lord over us, friend, until the next lord arrives. Oh, I'm sorry, did you think we were a private... have we seceded from the Empire?
Well, I mean, whoever comes, wouldn't you have something to say about how they do things? Can they just come in and you would just accept them?
Everyone in the crowd gives you a bit of a look, and you kind of listen to yourself. Is that how things work where you're from, Kruber? If the local lord died, did the people get to decide who the next lord was? The answer is no.
No, but this is different. The entire castle's gone. The entire, bloodline. I mean, this place was named after these people, no? After this family. So, I don't know. Something just seems like things would be different here. But I don't know. Maybe that's too much to hope for.
Well, it's appreciated. I imagine it's going to be whoever the next lord or lady is down the road and will be part of their province now, or county, or barony, I don't really know. They'll probably send some new tax men, women, guards. I don't know. They'll also want to send some people back to the temple. Probably want to consecrate that again, and Rena leans in and says, yeah, because it definitely needs it, but hey, at least they're all gone as well.
Always something.
No matter what comes next, it can't be as bad as what was there before.
That much is true.
Sigrid actually looks a little uncertain for a moment, and oddly looks to you, Siegfrieda. Is she waiting for you to say something? Or not? You can't tell.
Yes, what is it, dear? Please, if you have any questions, now's the time before we leave. And I would hate to have anything hanging over you or me after leaving this place.
You're an intelligent woman. I'm unsure this is going to work. And Rena quickly says, like, no, Sigrid, no, none of that. It's totally going to work. Isn't that right, Siegfried? Go and tell her.
What? What exactly?
The food shortages, the lack of defences, waiting for help. Some people are already leaving on the boats. I'm unsure if it's wise to stay or not. Maybe everyone should leave. I don't know.
I'm no village elder or planner, civic engineer, Sigrid. I do not know how much grain a village like this needs to survive until the Empire comes to relieve you, if indeed that ever happens. I think you are at a great deal of risk. Anyone who remains here is at a huge amount of risk of famine and disease. It is not going to be a bright few months or perhaps even few years for anyone who stays here. But all I do know, and about the only thing I can suggest you take heart from, is anywhere else would be just as bleak. There will be nowhere on the river that wishes to accept a mass of refugees from your village, especially anyone who is bearing visible signs of illness, as we know. Therefore, I would suggest there are places in the Empire that are treated as colonies for the sick. The most healthy should leave and come back with as much as they can by way of tools, food, clothing, building materials. I know there is not much wealth here, but perhaps pick through the rubble of the castle where it is possible and purloin as much wealth as you can so that you can trade, and then those people who are leaving on the boats do need to come back. This is your village. And yes, there will undoubtedly be a new master that is put in place who no one appreciates, no one likes, and it will likely be cruel, but not as cruel as the last ones. But right now, the only thing you can concentrate on is keeping the people who are alive now alive tomorrow, and the next week, and the next month, and maybe even in a year's time. But you have to work together to do that. I know that's rough instructions. Again, this is not my area of expertise, but that is the only way you can make this work.
Sigrid nods. She seems to take something from your words. The older man says something along the lines of, "Besides, we won't have to worry about the sick. That's all taken care of. Finally all gone."
Right. Well, I think that may have been for the best.
Aye. Thanks to you lot. You proved it. It was never a sickness. It was the taint of foul powers.
Yes. I think we've... That point has been made, hasn't it? I smile, trying to drive that thought from my head that I have participated or instigated in any way some purge of the sick and dying. Yes, if you are dying, mercy is welcome. But we can't know for certain that every single person who was sick here was beyond recovery, and I'm not going to say that. I just cannot cope with this evangelical, yes, we did the right thing by burning all of them where they lived.
Yes, certainly seems to be the implication there. Still, Sigrid comes and gives you all a firm handshake. Well, I think I have a lot of work to do, and I think I've heard from your boatmaster that you'll be leaving very shortly. And that's probably for the best. I think you have your own lives to live, don't you? But thank you. Thank you for what you've done. It was appreciated, and yes, we've got a lot of work to do. And then she turns to depart. Rena seems slightly more optimistic than her sister. Well, again, I think I'm going to stay here a little bit, maybe not forever. A little help out some. Yeah, again, maybe the boats will start coming back. That would be nice. And then it's easier to leave. But if not, well, it's been a pleasure. Siegfrieda, I was wrong about you. I'd like to apologise.
Oh, I don't know that you were, but I appreciate the gesture.
No. I thought this is a high and mighty, educated woman. I thought you were looking down on me. I thought when push came to shove, you'd be running away, and no. Oh my gods, you stood up against my sister. You went into that place alone? That bloody mad castle alone? God knows what you had to deal with, all those mad people in there. And then you came out and... No, you got stone. And, I respect it. I'm sorry I was stupid.
I don't think it would be possible for me to look down on anyone. And I appreciate your words.
Heinrich, again, wow, like a chosen warrior. pretty impressive, eh? And some of those moves, my goodness. Again, thank you. Again, I'm so... I wish none of your own and your kin had to be involved, though. I'm sorry about that.
Me too, but we do what we can with the talents that we have. Some by sword, and some by resilience and the need to carry on. And I think the other two would realize at this point that Heinrich is being positive for the sake of everybody else. He has definitely put on his inspire people hat as opposed to his cynical zeal hat.
And finally she turns to you, Kruger, and gives you an attempt at a hug and says, well, pal, we did it again. Got a bit wild there, but I guess we're all...
I give her a proper hug. It's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Thanks, pal. So, apparently you're going back to Antxon, but then where are you going from there?
I don't know. I don't. But I know we're gonna be going exactly where we need to go. I just have a good feeling about what's ahead of us.
Well, that's nice and vague, but how's someone supposed to reach you if you don't know where you're going? Someone said something about heading somewhere else. Didn't you have... What about... She lowers her tone. What about those people that were after you? I know you didn't want to tell me much about that, but I could have helped a little. But never mind. But just, I mean, is that sorted too? Was that what that woman... You knew that woman. Was that what that was all about? Are you in the clear?
Maybe. Maybe. I don't quite know, but... Well, I've done what I could at least. Now we just have to see what happens next. We just have to see if they catch up with us. But hopefully we'll have some time to breathe now.
You do remember one thing, as she mentions where you could possibly be going next. Wasn't there something about the city of Middenheim? In fact, now you think about it, that's the only lead you have now. If you did, of course, want to pursue these people, but maybe you're all in the clear and everything is fine now. Maybe.
Yeah, probably not, but I suppose Middenheim is as good a place as any to go, and I do know the place.
Oh!
I have some bad memories from there, though.
Middenheim? Alright, well, okay, I know where that is, vaguely, I suppose. Alright, well, good luck. I'm sure we'll see each other again. I don't intend to be here forever.
No, but stay with your sister for a bit. I think she's going to need you. There's going to be a lot of work to be done here, and, well, they need good people like you. And you can have a home here, you know? If you want it.
Yeah, maybe. Alright, I guess we'll just be off. It's not the best mornings, but maybe it's a good start. Shame about the castle, though. We already sent the people to look, Siegfried. Nothing. Just rock. God knows how that happened. Do you know how that happened?
I don't know, it was all such a blur. A lot happened yesterday, as I'm sure you can remember. Just don't dig too deep in the ruins. Take the masonry you can from the top. But you know that the people that lived within that castle were vile, and they had vile things, and while I'm sure some of them, or none of them, survived the collapse, that doesn't mean there's not still something malignant down there.
I reckon you're right, Siegfried. I reckon I'll leave that to the the Imperial army. They can sort that out. Oh, and I almost forgot. Siegfried forgot to mention. Ixnay on the rebellion. If anyone asks, you know, our story is that we were all here being good citizens, and then a castle fell down.
It has been known to happen.
I know, right? So. Yeah, just... not that you would, but just in case. Yeah, that's the story. They were all being good, and then the castle fell down, and then all the villagers decided to get rid of that plague in the name of Sigmar.
When disasters strike, people come together. You know, it's known to happen.
Exactly. Yeah, it wouldn't go down well if anyone found out that you were instrumental in killing some nobles.
Oh no, that was all a very tragic accident, wasn't it?
Yeah, you see, just like the old days. Well, I'm going to miss you guys. I'm going to miss all three of you. Good luck. Stay safe. Thanks. Don't think I'd be here without you three.
We all had our part to play. And good luck to you too.
And with that, she gives you one last hard Kruger and departs. It seems everyone's done, but then just before you go back, one other person suddenly runs forward. The young woman, Hilda. She's looking quite tired, but her eyes are full of joy and hope. But she also looks a bit concerned as he attempts to grab you, Heinrich. Heinrich, wait, you're not going, are you?
I'm afraid I must.
Could you not? I mean, we have a home, there's going to be some new places, and I know I shouldn't ask for more. Like, literally, Sigmar sent you and saved everybody, but is it bad to ask for more? I'm sorry, I just don't want you to go.
No. I appreciate and I'm flattered, but there are other villages out in the world that are suffering like you, and people like the former lords who mean them harm. The gifts that I have been given, the skills that I have, are not meant to stay in one place waiting for the next thing to happen. The rest of the Empire deserves to be saved just the way you and yours were.
She looks a little teary, but then she nods. Of course, I'm being selfish. I didn't think much of you when you first came, but it turns out you were everything. Thank you. Thank you. You've saved us from the foul grips of chaos. You have championed Sigmar's name. I'll never forget you.
Oh, yeah, and at this point, I'm probably actually blushing. Heinrich has always imagined himself the hero, but we've been real short on other people who agree with that diagnosis. But in always deflecting, he'll say, no, I was only a small part of it. Each of you survived far longer in that town than we did. Each of you did more to resist and to care for each other than we ever did. If anything, I'm confident enough to leave because I know that you're going to be in very good hands. Your hands.
She looks a little embarrassed. She nods, and she gestures for an older gentleman to suddenly come forward. My grandfather. And this grandfather just gives you a stern nod and then says, Sigmar bless you all. Sigmar bless you all. You've saved our village.
Then take this gift and make something of it. Be kind to each other and bountiful in Sigmar's name.
And with that, you make your way back to the boat. Frieda and Kruger, you're left alone, but someone does come up to you, Heinrich, one last time. Your mother. She gives you a firm look, a nod, and hands you a rope and says, well, now you've done all that, lad. The mooring needs doing. Come on, get to it. Let your friends rest. You got work to do.
Blessed by Sigmar or not, I am not saying no to my mother. Like, no way. So, just, not even the cheeky smile, just like a yes ma'am and off to knot tying land.
Yes, and you go to your old boat, the Dove, where again it does seem as if 5 or 6 individuals have decided to leave. You're not sure they're going to come back, but well, that's on them. And so it seems the boats are ready to depart. Is there anything anyone would like to do before they leave this place, perhaps for the final time?
I think there's just one small moment that Heinrich has, because having been on this boat before, and I imagine he got a good clip on the ears for it, but I want to say that Heinrich carved his name under one of the mooring ties. And so as he's tying that off, it's just one more time to sit and ponder on that. Like, it's an old name from an old time. And he's about to send that down the river with old dreams. And there's just a hint of that catches him before finally placing a hand on it, just not literally pushing the boat away. He's not that strong. But letting those old dreams and old desires sail away.
And so, the two boats moor off and begin to slowly follow the River Reich back up, leaving Wittgendorf behind. How are you feeling, Siegfrieda? That place, that blight, slowly getting smaller and smaller. You pass by that castle, except there isn't a castle. There's nothing. There's not even rubble. It's as if the mountain itself has consumed the entire area, and now there's just a big crater and a very large area of water where once everything was.
Relief, guilt, all kinds of mixed up emotions currently churning around inside me. I look up in the space where the castle once stood and overhung the river. It was the first thing we saw on the way here. And I can't help but feel glad that it's down. I can't help but feel relieved that that part of their story is over. That this village no longer has to suffer under those people. They were barely people. But yeah, I just need time away from this place, and I need time to contemplate the things I've seen and experienced. And if I'm going to survive this in any way, morally, spiritually, I need to come up with a way of preventing or reversing these things in future in a way that doesn't just involve blades and fire. That isn't my way, and I refuse to become that person.
About you, Kruger. The wind is a little cold, but you're leaving. Alive. But what next? You said you didn't really know, but now you have time to think about it. What are you going to do? You know that Josef is going back to Altdorf. Why wouldn't he? That's his boat route, although he has suggested that you don't stay in Altdorf long. But what are you going to do? Are you going to join the river folk? Maybe stay on this boat for the rest of your days, fishing and helping these people out? Or are you going to go somewhere else?
I have a feeling that my fate is not to remain on the boat and become some fisherman, even though that's a fine profession. No, I think there's something else awaiting me. I do feel the allure of the city streets. That's where I feel at home. And that's where I need to be. Could be Altdorf, could be Middenheim. Could be anywhere, really. At least it's not here, and it's not on the boat. That much I know. So the road ahead lies wide open.
And so, you set off down the River Reich, sailing to clearer waters, hopefully. Hopefully.
You have listened to an episode of Red Moon Roleplaying, where we play the legendary campaign The Enemy Within for Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay 4th Edition, published by Cubicle 7. In this third part of the series, we are tackling Power Behind the Throne. Joining us as players in this series are none other than Aaron Hammonds from Queen's Court Games and our dear friend Matthew Dawkins. The music was made by Flowers for Body Snatchers, Wordclock, Metatron Omega, Aegersonus, Apocryphus, Halgrath, and Northumbria, featuring a number of collaborations with other artists, and was used with permission from their label Cryochamber. Check out their website at cryochamber.bandcamp.com or their YouTube channel for some moody dark ambient for your gaming table. We would like to give massive thanks to our champions of the Red Moon, Martin Heuschober, Simon Cooper, David, Julia, Camilla, Bob Lange, Cameron, Antxon, and Graham Barey for their generous support. And we'd of course also like to thank all of our other patrons. Without your support, the show would not be possible. If you want to support our work, please check us out on Patreon. You can get access to bonus campaigns for Cult of Indy Lost and Coriolis there, as well as get early and raw access to all of our recordings. You can also hear your name read on the show as a champion of the Red Moon, as well as play Cult with us. Most importantly, that support is what keeps the show going, so do check us out there. Thank you again for listening, and remember that Skaven are definitely not real. Except, well, who's gonna believe you? Never mind.